Hi, Joe Cerrone.
Yeah, Alan Rosad.
Welcome to CAD 116 Basic AutoCAD and our weekly Zoom classroom meeting. Alrighty, so here we are in D2L. Module 2 has been released in the announcements, and this is from our outline of topics. And so as we've started to work with the course, we're covering drawing and editing object commands, chapter 3 and 4 from our AutoCAD. It's AutoCAD instructor. And so here's our textbook. Draw commands and concepts. And so our learning objectives are to be able to work with different formats of coordinates, working with snap and grid, dynamic input, line commands, and polar tracking. And then chapter 4 goes through selection sets, which are used to choose what geometry you want to modify. So if you want to copy or move or erase, you would select an object to erase, and the chapter goes through that information. We've created videos for that, and so here's the chapter 3 video lecture. And so if you click on this link right here,
Module 2.
we go through the learning objectives for module 2, and we try to tie those into the textbook, showing how to create the geometry and then make the concepts about creating circles, lines, and other geometry. Alright, so that's the module 3 video. And then module 4, chapter 4 video is right here. And in the chapter 4 video, we go through selection sets. And so we outline the topics from the textbook, and then we demonstrate those same concepts using CAD. Alright, back to the D2L course shell. And then we have an assignment, which is to create this architectural floor plan, and we'll come back to that. So as we look at the learning objectives, we're going to go through and learn more about draw commands and selection sets. Staying on task, looking at our calendar, Module 1 is due on October 1st at 11:59 p.m. Module 2 has been released and is due on October 8th. And those are in the outline of topics. Students have turned in their Module 0, which is basically introducing yourself. I think we call it Student Introduction Pretest. Be sure you have that in, because as being in an online class, you need to show participation, or you could be dropped for non-participation. Content area. So the outline of topics will guide you through the course. Every week we'll continue to work on these different topics. And so here we are on the second class. We're covering chapter 3 and 4. Let's take a look at the drawing exercises. So the drawing exercises are located right here in Module 2. And the Module 2 exercises, we basically have two different categories. We have an architectural and a mechanical design area. Here's the PowerPoint that discusses some of the concepts within the course. Here's the B-size title block, and what we'll do is we'll download that title block and use it to create the drawing. And so here's what the drawing looks like. It's a PDF. It's an architectural floor plan. It's just basically a room with a table and chairs and another table for snacks. And then we're dimensioning on a B-size architectural title block. And so you'll often see drawings like this in facilities where they do things like conference rooms. All right. So the video for how to create this drawing is right here. I updated it. There's an older video. You're welcome to watch either one of them. You're not required to watch the videos, but they are very helpful for students who are visual learners. And so we walk you through how to create the drawings, how to use trim commands, the chair you need to insert. And so the chair is in the D2L, and you can download the chair and insert it. And so I'm talking about arraying the chair. Let's see, there it is. And so we have a chair drawing, and that's in D2L right here in Module 2. And so you download the title block. You can start by downloading the title block, and then we open that, and here's our AutoCAD. Here's the finished assignment. And so the idea is to create the geometry in model space, and then to open the chair drawing. Did I download that? I don't think I did. And so you download the chair number 7. And we open that. And you'll notice that the chair is 3D, and that's very common in CAD. So as Al and I develop these courses, we're going to take you from 2D drawing and layout to 3D. And a lot of the 3D is just knowing how to navigate the XYZ coordinates. And so we can take a top view of the chair, and then we can copy it. Here we select it, and I can say edit, copy with a base point, and I'll say this will be my base point. And then I'll go to my other drawing, and I'll just put another chair in this one. And on the furniture layer, I'll paste it. And you paste it as a block, and you can get the chair. And you can see we've updated the chair design slightly. And then we'll go through and show you how to array the chairs. And so if I took this chair out, and we delete that.
Explode it first.
If you want to take them out one by one, and so it does group things, is what Al is saying. And so when you explode them, then you have to erase each individual chair. So maybe you want a bigger chair at the top or something like that. But they're grouped depending on how you work with AutoCAD. And then what we're doing is we're applying some different principles like the circular array on that. And they call it a polar array. But essentially we use O-snaps, and we can put the chairs in the room. And then you can see how many people you can fit at the table. And so maybe we can get 7 people in there. Looks like we can still get one more, because we were so popular at this meeting. That's the way it is in our manufacturing courses. Everybody's elbow to elbow. It's a small classroom. It's actually a big lab, but the seating space isn't. So anyhow, and then you can modify it. That's the nice thing. You can go back to 6 chairs, green check mark it. So it's very intelligent. It updates in the title block and in the viewports as we work with those things. And so the assignment is to create this floor plan. And here's the YouTube and the tutorial instructions. And then the alternative would be to create the mechanical lab. And so you can choose either the mechanical lab, and here's the mechanical labs that we have. Same technique, you download the title block. The title blocks are set up with different units. And so when we download a mechanical title block and open that, format units, the units are set in decimal dimensions. And so our mechanical drawings will be created with decimal units. And so here's what our mechanical drawing will look like. And it's the same thing where we're going to work in model space, create the drawing and the details of the drawing, and then I would then add any comments when we turn that in and grade it. But when we look at the actual drawing itself, what we want to have is nice accurate dimensions. We want to have center lines, and we want to have our hidden lines, and the drawing properly what they call detailed, which means showing the dimensions that it would take to make the part. Alrighty. So there's a video for that as well. Here's the YouTube mechanical video, and then we have the documents, and so here's the PDF for those of you who like to do mechanical work. And mechanical is booming. It can't get enough people. And then here's another of the mechanical lab assignments. And these are all manufacturable. And so this is made of aluminum T6061. It's a mechanical specification. And we put the coordinates on here. So if we're going to do CNC programming, we can create accurate parts. Alright, so the assignment is to read chapter 3 and chapter 4, and then to create the architectural or the mechanical drawing. And then we have another assignment which we call a general design assignment, which is the number 1. And if we come back to the main splash page on that and we look at that, it's an exercise in coordinate input. And so it's creating absolute and relative polar. We really don't use the relative rectangular coordinates. It's just not the way people think. And then here's where all the coordinates are. Coordinate number 1 is at this point, 2, 1. So we have x coordinate being the horizontal, y coordinate being the vertical, and this is navigational, and so this is our angles. Okay, so 3 o'clock position is 0 degrees, and then 90 degrees more is 90, 180, 270, and so, and then the negative would be if you were to create geometry in this direction, clockwise. And so we input coordinates to be able to create our number 1. And so if we were to look at that exercise, here's a completed number 1, and if we click on it and use the computer, we can use and get analysis commands. And so if I turn on my grid, I'm not sure if we have a line weight on this, we don't, but we can certainly make that a heavier line weight if we want to by just going here and increasing it. Let's go with 0.6, and then we'll turn that on. Now it's a little bit easier to read, but the idea here is that you can input these coordinates using x and y coordinates. And so the first coordinate 2, 1 would be this point right here, and so that point right there, and you can see the value for that by going to ID point and then IDing that point, and it tells you the x coordinate is 2 and the y coordinate is 1. And so your digital manufacturing equipment and other types of equipment will tie into these coordinate systems. And then the idea is we just working as CAD people to understand how to work with the coordinates. And so if I wanted to create the geometry in absolute coordinates, I would draw a point from 2, 1, hit enter, and then I'd hit the pound 2, 4, and I'll do that. So we'd say, let's go and make it a different color. We'll go with orange. We'll say line, first point 2, 1, enter, and you can see it goes to the coordinate, very accurate. And then I'm just going to have to look at my second screen, and I'm going to go 2, 4, and so for my x coordinate, I'm going to say pound 2, 4, enter. And you can see that the line now is at the next coordinate. And then I say pound 3, 4, and it goes to the next coordinate. If I make this line weight really heavy, maybe we'll see it a little better. And so then my next line would be pound 3, 8. And the next line would be pound 2, 8. Pound 2, 10. So this would be absolute coordinate entry method. And then we can create geometry that versus the relative polar, which would be this one here, where you would create a line and you would use a distance vector and an angle. And so you'd say this is going to be 3 units long at a 90-degree angle. And so just like when we were looking at the coordinates here, 90-degree means it would go straight and it would go 3 units up. And so 1, 2, 3 would go to point number 2. And that's what they're doing. They're documenting those point locations. So if we go through, and let's just use another color here, and we'll go with yellow. Yellow is a little hard. Let's go with something dark green. And we start to input those coordinates. We'd say line in the first coordinate, absolute, 2, 1, enter. They all go to that same point. And then for the next one, we use the at symbol. And so you'd hold the shift in the number 2, at, and I would say 3 less than symbol 9. And I'm not sure if it worked. And so let me try that again. At 3 less than 90. No. Those are coordinates. So line from this point, and then we'll say at 3 less than 90. There we go. At 1 less than 0. And so that's our vector. At 4, 90. And so you should be thinking, oh, where's it going to go? And so you, as you're inputting the coordinates, think about where that line's going to go. It's going to go 4 units up at the 90-degree or 12 o'clock position. And that's what's called coordinate input. And so this is one additional exercise to get you used to general design fundamentals and applying coordinates. You don't have to do the relative polar. The coordinates are going to wind up just tracing over right on top of the other ones, and so it's an exercise that you can go through and create geometry using coordinate systems. All right, so back to D2L. So for this week, read through chapter 3 and chapter 4. Complete the general design assignment. Here's a video for how to create that, just like I just demonstrated. And then you can choose either the mechanical or the architectural drawing. We're following the outline of topics right here. We're in Module 2, Chapter 3 and 4. And then there is a module quiz, and so under quizzes and exams, you can take the test too. Alrighty. Remember, we do have student support, and so we're there on Wednesdays from 9 o'clock until 12 in the Skokie campus, room P130. We'll be broadcasting our 3D printing class from there, but it's an open lab environment, and Al and I are in there happy to work with students who'd like to come in for individual help. And so Tuesdays, we're at the Skokie campus, P130. Tuesdays we're broadcasting. That's what we're doing right now. And then Thursday we have flex. And Al, we're going to have to update this to tell people we're in here on Wednesdays also, but we're here Mondays too. So if you want to come in, you're welcome to come in. Just send us an email and you can get some additional help. Alrighty, let's go back to the main splash page. Al, is there anything else that we want to cover before I end the recording and open things up for questions?
No, I think that's it.
Alrighty then. This ends our Zoom video meeting for today.